neat. But as we get closer and closer to it, compare and contrast the two different sections. Huron meets up with the south and north branches. We're going on all three branches of the river here today, and the river is why Chicago is here. If you head out through that south branch, you get out to the Mississippi, ultimately out to the Gulf of Mexico in one direction. Head out the other way through the Great Lakes, you can get out to the Atlantic, worth about $85 million when he passed away. This next building coming up, the landscape, the big flat plains of the Midwest. The architect most closely associated with this style is Frank Lloyd Wright. You might have heard of him before. He didn't design this building, but this prairie style is the first uniquely American style of architecture, and it was invented right here in Chicago. As we do a turnaround on the north branch of the river, we get a great view of all three of the right. Now the one on the right had a painting of a wolf over the front door. We just said which came first, the name Wolf Point. About the train line that goes underneath this building, it continues behind 150 North Riverside. That's where there's a setback at the base of the building to make room for the train line behind it. And then the city mandates a 30-foot setback from the river these days. Built in chronological order. And as we go through them one by one, you can see how architecture has changed here in Chicago. Starting with soaring vertical lines, setbacks at the top. Again, that optimistic Art Deco style from the Roaring 20s. But when you think about the United States in the 30s, what's going on? The Great Depression. Cut across the river, another beautiful Art Deco building, the Civic Opera Building. Joker must have been so upset when he opened up his bags of cash and just found those old Montgomery Ward catalogs, right? But there really is a connection between that big warehouse space and this enormous post office. That branch of the river, we're going to take another break here on the south branch. Some of the best views of the city will be available to you from the front of. All you need to do is raise your hand with the number that you think is right. Are you ready? Well, we're going to do it anyway. The new Bean building from the 1980s, officially called Cloud Gate, but nobody in Chicago calls it that. We all call it the Bean. That's right. Fun fact about the Bean, the artist who designed it hates that we root system provide fish a space to spawn and raise their young. They're called fish hotels. If back in the 1970s they tested the river, this old warehouse on the river from the 1910s, the Reed Murdoch building, another example of adaptive reuse. Today it's got office space inside of it, classrooms, restaurants down at the base. But here's what I want you to do. As we come out from underneath the bridge, find the clock tower in the center, and then count along with me the banks of windows on each side. Over here on the left, you'll see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this side of the clock tower. Look on the other side. From the Roaring 20s, we didn't build ours until 1989. That doesn't count as Art Deco. So if you're copying the Art Deco, today used to be the headquarters for Standard Oil. We used to call it Big Stand. When the building first opened in the 1970s, covered in white marble. That white marble did not like Chicago. The second set of doors to either flood or empty the lock, depending on if you're taking the step into the lake, which is our source of drinking water. Not a great plan, right? So after enough bouts of cholera, we do what any city would do. One of the biggest public works projects in the history of the United States. We dug out around here by the lake. This is last call for our bar and restroom.